Everybody, how you doing? I'm not having a very good day for the second day in a row. And I want my producers, Nuno and John and JC, stop laughing at me. I'm very, very upset. I'm not having a very, very bad day. A very good day, I'm sorry. And they don't have anything, a damn thing to do with Michael Cohen giving his testimony on Capitol Hill, dominating the airwaves and trying to distract y'all from what the world of sports. I am not having a very good day. Now I got to do this again, Nuno. So I got to do these reads because God knows our producer, Jonathan Witham, have a heart attack. Oh, my God, the reads. You got to do the reads. We got to make sure we do the reads. So I got to make sure I do that, JC. I got to make sure I do that. Because we don't want Jonathan Witham having a heart attack, okay? So let me get this out of the way first. The Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Pennzoil Synthetics. Taking synthetic motor oil performance to a whole new level. So make the switch to Pennzoil Synthetics today. Time for Straight Talk, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Best phones, best networks, no contracts. I watched Kyrie Irving and the Boston Celtics, my pick, to go to the NBA Finals against the Golden State Warriors, stink up a country yesterday. I mean, the way they got blitzed and bombed by the Toronto Raptors. It's not a good thing. But I got news for you. That ain't even the number one reason I'm upset. The number one reason I'm upset is because of these damn New York Knickerbockers and these damn Los Angeles Lakers. I'm ticked off at both of them right now. The New York Knicks are 13-48 on the season. The New York Knickerbockers, obviously, before the other night, hadn't won a home game. What was it, since December 1st? Okay? I think over that span, what they had, like 17, 18 road games. Okay? Ladies and gentlemen, the rules of the draft lottery have changed. Once upon a time, if you were the worst team in the league, you'd probably have, what was it, Nuno, about a 25% chance in the ping pong balls for the draft lottery. And then they changed it. So basically the best chance you'd have at it was 14%. Remember that? So you're the New York Knicks. Your chances have drastically increased automatically from 25 to 14%. That's an 11% drop if you're the worst team in the NBA. So what do the New York Knicks turn around and do? These dudes don't even know how to lose right. They forgot how to tank. I mean, a James Dolan, think about this, Nuno, let's put it in perspective. A James Dolan team forgot how to lose. What the hell is going on? Zion Williamson is at stake. R.J. Barrett is at stake. Hell, Cam Reddish is at stake. Manute Bol's son in Oregon, who people have been talking about although he's been hurt. He's at stake. The New York Knicks have won 3 of their last 4 games. What the hell are you doing? I want to see Mitchell Robinson perform too. I like him. Alonzo Trier, I want to see him perform. Dennis Smith Jr., love the brother. I want to see them perform. But if the New Orleans Pelicans can sit down Anthony Davis in the fourth quarter of games to ensure that they lose, they have a better chance of losing than winning. What the hell do the New York Knicks think they're doing? I mean, what is going on? This is not the time to win. You stink anyway, keep stinking. I mean, the New York Knicks have been so pathetic, I don't mind if they walked by people passing gas. It wouldn't bother me. I mean, if you're going to stink all the way. Don't sit up there and stink up the basketball court at Madison Square Garden and then walk around smelling like you just put on some Creed. That's a beautiful cologne for those of you who don't know. Don't do that. As far as I'm concerned, if the New York Knicks didn't take a bath, it wouldn't bother me. If you're going to stink all the way. Why the hell win now? For what? Why bother? What purpose does that serve? It makes no sense whatsoever. All it does is diminish your chances to get Zion to get to the Garden. Why would you do that? What possible sense does that make? I really don't understand this sometimes. Love Steve Mills, my brother Scott Perry, the GM. Love him. I don't understand this sometimes. And I got love for David Fizdale, too. And oh, by the way, just as an aside, Nuno, JC, John, when we talk about girlfriends and wives in the NBA, y'all need to take a look at Mrs. Fizdale. My God, she's something special. I'm just going to leave it at that. She is sensational. We got a first lady of New York. If the basketball team sat up there and performed and we had a reason to see David Fizdale more often, I assure you, you would see why that man is one of the happiest men on earth. It ain't just because he got the Knicks job. I'll leave it at that. Having said all of that, you can't win now. You can't win now. This makes no sense. Why would you win now if you are the New York Knicks? For what? This is not the time to grow a conscience and suddenly care about winning. Next year, yes. Not now. So I'm very upset by this. And I think this is problematic. And I think the New York Knicks need to stop. Stake up the joint. Looking at the rest of their schedule, next week they got Cleveland at home. You got a 3-game road trip against the Clippers, Sacramento, and Phoenix. You'll lose to L.A. and Sacramento anyway. Lose to the damn Phoenix Suns on purpose, please. And then you got Sacramento again at home. And then you got Minnesota, Indiana, and San Antonio on the road. And then you got the Lakers at home. Sunday, March 17th. I'll lose every game. I don't give a damn if the New York Knicks go 13-69. What difference does it make? Lose, lose, lose. Now, obviously, I would not give the same mandate to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Los Angeles Lakers, they got a game tonight. They're scheduled to go up against the New Orleans Pelicans. The Lakers' defense is ranked 23rd. I'm sorry, 12th in the NBA. The offense is ranked 23rd. A LeBron James offense is ranked 23rd in the NBA. The Lakers have lost 4 of their last 5 games. Okay? 6 of their last 8. They are 3.5 games out of the 8th playoff spot in the Western Conference. They are fading. And tonight at the Staples Center, and then Friday at the Staples Center, they have what I would consider to be must-wins against New Orleans and then the Greek Freak and the Milwaukee Bucks. These are must-win games. There's no other way to slice this. They have to win these games. They go against Phoenix Saturday. Then they got a game next week, Monday against the Clippers, Wednesday against the Denver Nuggets, Saturday against Boston. Damn it, I need to be out in L.A. all next week for those games. Those are important games. And intriguing games at that. I will tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, because it's very, very important that I say this. This might be a must-win situation for LeBron James and the Los Angeles Lakers. It's regular season game. There's 22 left. You still got time to get back in the thick of things. Sacramento, San Antonio, the Clippers, they all could potentially struggle. We don't know. And I made the argument this morning against LeBron James in this respect. LeBron James is one of the greatest players in the world. I made the argument yesterday that we got to stop saying he's the greatest. The way he's been playing, excuse me, since that groin injury, I think it's important. Just look at the schedule. Look at the schedule. It's up on the screen. Pelicans, Bucks, Suns, Clippers. Listen, LeBron James has not looked like the best player in the world since the groin injury. The Greek Freak has looked better. Up until 2 games ago, Paul George was looking better. James Harden has looked better. When you look at the Los Angeles Lakers, my issue with LeBron James isn't necessarily his play. It's the pointing of the fingers. And I'm not even talking about post-game interviews. I'm talking about when you're on the court. You're missing defensive assignments and pointing at other dudes like they're the ones who missed it. Your man was standing there in the corner. You pointing at him. As if somebody else was supposed to be defending him instead of you. Now, some people sit up there and say, Stephen A. is in his 16th, 17th year in the league. What do you expect? Well, here's what the problem. I saw LeBron doing that years ago. We debated about this when he was in Cleveland. Year 1, 2, 3, and 4. So the fact of the matter is, those kind of things have happened. LeBron James has had the finger pointed at him in the past over such things. And I think that LeBron James needs to be more responsible defensively in terms of effort. That's my belief. And I also think it's one of those situations where you got a bunch of young dudes walking around like they need diapers. LeBron needs help from the other veterans in terms of rallying dudes and bringing them together. That's what was transpiring before he went down Christmas Day. You saw guys huddling up, supporting one another. You saw him and Rondo and Tyson Chandler in the air of everybody else. And I also got to look at Irvin Magic Johnson, my brother. I got to look at him trading Zubac. I got to look at that. I liked Zubac. I liked him a lot. I really did. Young kid with a lot of promise. I liked him a great deal. And I'm sad that the Los Angeles Lakers elected to trade that young man. Because I honestly thought he did a good job for them. And he showed a lot of promise. I'm not sure I would have gave him up. I'm really not. But that ultimately is what happened. And when I look at it from that standpoint, I'm kind of wondering right now about the Los Angeles Lakers and where you go from here. I'm kind of wondering about this squad that Magic Johnson and Rob Pelinka have assembled. What is it, Ivica Zubac? He's with the Los Angeles Clippers. He's been with them for 6 games. Only averaging 19.8 minutes. Still averaging about 8 points and nearly 7 rebounds a game. He's got promise. He really does. Numbers similar to what he did for the Lakers. JaVale McGee, what's happened to him in Luke Walton's rotation? Lance Stevenson, what's he going to do for you? You going to play him more? I think he should. You just need to see something from the Los Angeles Lakers. You really, really do. And you're going up against a Pelican squad tonight that, quite honestly, as an organization, I think is an embarrassment at this moment in time. Ladies and gentlemen, let me get into something because it's very, very important that I say this. What they're doing in regards to Anthony Davis is a travesty. And by the way, what some pundits on ESPN have been saying is tragic. My brother, Paul Pierce, the truth, shows up on the jump. Listen, Rachel Nichols does a good job, does a really good job for us, y'all. And I encourage everybody to watch her show. But I'm going to tell you something right now. I've never asked to go on the show in my life. I might have to go on the jump. I might have to show up on the jump. And if not, I might have to walk around with picket signs outside that show. Let me tell y'all something. In Rachel Nichols' show, The Jump, I have watched Scottie Pippen and Tracy McGrady, also my brothers, go on the air and talk about how Zion Williamson, even if healthy, this is before he got hurt, should just quit in the middle of the season. Quit on his teammates. He's proven himself. He's going to be the #1 overall pick. Why play? Why go to college? You want to showcase what you could do? You were going to be a top 10 pick anyway coming out of high school. What the hell did you go to Duke for? And I'm not talking about Zion Williamson because he hasn't said any of this. He wants to play. But according to the Scottie Pippens and T-Max of the world, just quit on your team in the middle of the season. Just say, okay, enough's enough. I'm done. I've proven that I'm going to be the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to shut it down and not play. R.J. Barrett, Cam Reddish, Coach Mike Krzyzewski, y'all go ahead and go for the national championship without me. I'm good. I'm just here for the money. I'm going to quit on my team in the middle of the season. Middle of the season. Not before he got to Duke. Not going straight out of high school. No. I'm going to play about 20 games for you, and then I'm going to quit, JC. I'm going to quit, Nuno. I'm just going to quit. In the middle of the season. Just quit. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that we're seeing. That was weeks ago on The Jump. I'll give it to Rachel Nichols, boy. She's one of the best because they making news. Because I can't believe the blasphemy that's coming out of the mouths of a Scottie Pippen and T-Mac before, and now yesterday, the truth and a half, a Hall of Famer, one of the great closers this game has ever seen, a good brother, by the way, and Paul Pierce, the truth. The man that reminded us biblically about stuff that was biblical in the Bible. Far be it for me to bring it up. But in the Bible, Nuno, in the Bible, JC, in the Bible, Jonathan Witham, in the Bible, Cat Pastor, in the Bible, to my listeners out there, it says, the truth shall make you free. And that's what Paul Pierce did. And guiding the Boston Celtics to a championship with KG, Ray Allen, and Rondo as his teammate. That's what Paul Pierce did in guiding the Celtics back to the Game 7 of an NBA Finals. 2 years later. That's what Paul Pierce did on many occasions going up against LeBron James. And this great player, this money player, this winner, this dude, who's a champion, a 10-time All-Star, one of the great players in the history of basketball and obviously in the history of the Boston Celtics. This dude shows up on Rachel Nichols' show and says, LeBron James, the greatest player in the world, should sit down. He should sit down right now. He would shut LeBron James down. LeBron James makes about $35 million. LeBron James is supposed to be the greatest player in the world. LeBron James with a questionable groin who could go out there and drop a triple-double in his sleep. LeBron James, who came to Tinseltown for far more than just basketball. LeBron James, who in all likelihood, if the Los Angeles Lakers could continue to look the way that they've been looking, will have the longest vacation since his rookie year. That LeBron James. Oh, we should be thoughtful and careful with him, according to Paul Pierce, and we should shut him down now. LeBron James shouldn't be playing. This is what Paul Pierce said. I mean, they're getting me to a point where I might have to have a picket sign right outside of the Jump Studios in L.A. I might show up to L.A. next week, Nuno, and have a picket sign that I'm carrying around with me. All right? Boycotting these dudes. I can't understand it. Now, I'm only playing around, y'all, to some degree because I love my boys. And I love me some Rachel Nichols. These brothers know their basketball. They played, I didn't. Not on that level. All of them Hall of Famers. It's not for me. I'm just messing with them because I can. Because I love them. They my boys. But I cannot believe that they are uttering what they're uttering. The blasphemy. This is unbelievable. I mean, essentially, just quitting. And as I told y'all before, they clearly don't watch soap operas. I thought everybody watched General Hospital or Young and the Restless. They clearly don't watch soap operas. Did you know that whether Sonny Corinthos on General Hospital or Victor Newman on Young and the Restless, did you know whether they get shot, stabbed, pushed down the stairs, whether they're in a coma, whether they flatline or not or whatever? Did y'all know they were going to survive? Did y'all know that? No matter what, they're going to live. They're going to live. They go in jail. Sonny shot A.J. Quartermain right in the chest, blew him away. Cold-blooded murder and still got out of jail. Still got out of jail. Okay? Do you know why, ladies and gentlemen? Because the story has to be told. The show must go on. So whether you're Anthony Davis and you want to get traded to the Lakers, whether you're LeBron James and the Lakers look a little bit stink right now, no matter who you are, you got to show up. The people walking through those turnstiles paying their hard-earned money to watch these guys play. That don't mean anything to Scottie Pippen? It don't mean anything to Tracy McGrady? It don't mean anything to Paul Pierce? Oh, they can watch them play without us. Really? Really? The Los Angeles Lakers, suffering miserably over the last 5 years with the stewardship of Jim Buss at the helm, finally gets a breath of life and an opportunity to play into past mid-April for a change. And you're saying, damn all of that. Sit LeBron James down? Paul Pierce, really? Really? I got news, and I'm saying this. And by the way, I want to say this, and I'm dead serious in what I'm saying this here. Because it's a compliment. I want to emphasize this. This is a compliment, not an insult. But when I say this, Nuno, when I say this, John, y'all going to nod your head and say, damn, I ain't think about that. He's right. Do y'all know that LeBron James with the groin injury looked like he moved better than Paul Pierce moved most of his career? Do y'all realize that? LeBron James with his groin injury looked as if he moved better than Paul Pierce did when Paul Pierce was healthy. But it didn't stop Paul Pierce from playing. It didn't stop Paul Pierce from balling. It didn't stop Paul Pierce from winning. Paul Pierce did what he did. He accomplished what he accomplished with half the physical attributes that LeBron James had at his disposal, but he calling for LeBron James to sit down. Now, what sense does that make? Well, Paul Pierce, Tracy McGrady, Scottie Pippen. And to some degree, Rachel Nichols, because she's a culprit here too, because she's so brilliant at what she does, that she coaxed them into giving these answers, because she's good at that. And that's a compliment to her too, because she's wonderful. Let me be very, very clear. Y'all have been contaminated by the LA sunshine. That's what this is about. I know the feeling. Because when I go out there, I shop more than I ever have in my life. I walk around more than I ever have in my life. I'm addicted to certain spots to eat and drink more than I've ever been in my life because LA can do that to people. It elevates your level of comfort. It makes you feel relaxed. It gives you the provocation and the incentive to exhale. And more importantly, you know what it teaches you? That no matter what's going on in life, the sun will shine tomorrow. I figured it out. That's what's wrong with Scottie Pippen and T-Mac as it pertains to Zion Williamson. That's what's wrong with Paul Pierce talking about how LeBron should be sat down. And it may very well be what's wrong with LeBron James. And dare I say Magic Johnson. LeBron James, LA sunshine, comfort. He might go out there. He ain't going to go out there and tank. He going to try to win. But is it possible, ladies and gentlemen, that the level of urgency that LeBron James once had no longer exists? Because unlike his time near Lake Erie, he may have drawn the conclusion that the sun will shine tomorrow and the next day and the next day and the next day. Because that's what L.A. does. Just a question. Just a question. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. That was Straight Talk Wireless. Nationwide coverage in America's largest and most dependable 4G LTE networks. You are listening live to the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Very, very interested in hearing your comments about what I had to say. But before I do that, let me say this to you. The college basketball season is heating up, and that means we must turn our attention to the Wendy's Wooden Watch. The John R. Wooden Men's Player of the Year Award, presented by Wendy's, is the most prestigious individual honor in all of college basketball, awarded to the country's most outstanding player who is also making progress towards earning a degree. Go to ESPN.com and search Wooden Watch for the list of the Wooden Award late season top 20 nominees to watch as this season rolls on. Nominee Grant Williams and number 7 Tennessee take on Ole Miss tonight. That's being brought to you by Wendy's, proud sponsor of the 2019 John R. Wooden Player of the Year. Back with your calls and more in a minute. It's Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
"30 minutes past hour number 1, back here in the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Looking very much forward to hour number 2, because at that particular moment in time, I will have Mark Teixeira, former New York Yankee, former Texas Ranger. Want to give, looking forward to talking to him about Bryce Harper, about Manny Machado, about Renato Colorado. A lot of baseball stuff coming in because baseball season about to take off. And I'm expecting my Yankees to do something special. With the arsenal that they have at their disposal, even though I'm still suspect on their pitching, I'm still expecting big things. I'm tired of them damn Boston Celtics. Boston Red Sox, I apologize. They as much of a good job as I think Brian Cashman has done overall. I mean, Boston's just on another level. Bad enough we got to deal with their dominance in football. The fact that they're a better basketball city. But now, it's baseball. A few years ago, they was suffering from a curse. Damn teams won 3 championships since that time. I'm really getting annoyed. Yankees got 1. Don't like that. Anyway, Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. The power to save is in your hand. Snapshot from Progressive rewards you safe driving with discounts. Find out more at progressive.com. By the way, my boy Jeff Brown, my brother, high school buddy from Thomas Edison High School in Queens, New York. He lives out in California right now. Just betrayed all New Yorkers. He's been back in New York about 5 times in 25 years. After serving in the Navy, he goes out to California. Don't even know New Yorkers anymore. But calls himself, but has cursed my godchildren. Has cursed them. He's got my godchildren being Mets and Jets fans. Who does that to a child? Who does that to a child? I mean, do you not care about winning? Got to ask Mark Teixeira about Robinson Cano and the Mets, too, since he's now back in New York and no longer in Seattle. I think the only person that has been more cruel to children is my boy Boris Battle in Minnesota. His name is Boris Terrell Battle. He went to Winston-Salem State with me. He's one of my best friends in the world, my former teammate. Last year I was at the Super Bowl in Minnesota. Ladies and gentlemen, I've never experienced cold like that in my life. It's the only time I've ever gone to an event like a Super Bowl or NBA Finals or World Series or anything like that. And people, you would have thought they were partying in the hotel lobby because everybody went down in the hotel lobby to eat and talk and everything like that because nobody wanted to go outside. So nobody wanted to go anywhere. When they drove me up to the Mall of America, they had to pull me up to the front door because I barely wanted to get out and walk 50 yards or 20 yards, rather, into the mall. That's how cold it was. And that was before this year where the temperatures, when you take into account the wind chill factor, descended to like 50 below. I looked at him because he brought his 2 kids to see my show First Take, which is on ESPN every weekday morning from 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, 7 to 9 a.m. Pacific. And I looked at them kids and then I looked at him and I said, how could you do this to them? How could you do this to them? Ladies and gentlemen, they're black kids. They looked gray. That's how cold it was. They looked gray. Gray, not black, not white. They looked gray. They looked gray. 50 shades of gray. Call it what you want. They looked gray. That's how cold it was. I'm done with this damn cold weather. I'm trying to tell you, I'm just done with it. I'm done with it. I run away from the cold every chance I get now. And I ain't apologizing for nobody. I'm sick of it. Just sick of it. And then the NBA got the audacity next year to have All-Star Weekend in Chicago. Who the hell wants to be in Chicago in February? Adam Silver? I mean, come on. I love Charlotte, though. I'll admit that. And I loved Atlanta for Super Bowl week, too. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Manuel. You're live with Stephen A. What's going on, man?
Oh, what's going on, Stephen? Man, I just want to say I love your show, bro.
Thank you, appreciate
it. Yeah, I want to talk to you about these Los Angeles Lakers, man.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what I'm seeing of late, man. I'm very disappointed over
Neither do
where
I.
things have been going of late.
So am I.
I'm really hoping that they make this playoff push. I really don't know what's going on with Luke Walton, first of all, because I don't know why Lance Stevenson ain't getting any playing time, really.
Doesn't make sense to me.
And Rondo's not getting any playing time. You know what I mean? I know they're not really playing well, but you got to put them out there. You know what I mean? Caldwell Pope's not really hitting any shots neither. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I just feel like he's not making the rotations right. It's true LeBron is not playing that defense. He needs to step it up. He needs to take over the team like Kobe did, back in 2012. You know what I'm saying? Like when your team ain't hitting shots and doing the things that they need to do, that's when he just needs to say, you know what, I'm taking over this game, and just take over this game so they can make it to the playoffs. Because what I see LeBron doing, he's waiting for his teammates to do something. And these games, they're not really doing much.
I got you.
They're not doing much. That's what he needs to do to take over this game.
I got you. I appreciate you echoing my comments because I said all of those things over the last 2 days. But thank you for the call, my man. I appreciate it. Let's go to James. You're live with Stephen A. Real quick, James, go.
Hey, Steven, how you doing? Before I get to my basketball point, as a Red Sox fan, I got to correct you. Before you said 3 titles.
Yeah, it's 4.
Yeah, it's 4. So
Yeah.
I had to do that.
Nah, I tried to rob you of one. I tried to rob you of one. I ain't gonna lie. I tried to rob you of one.
Yeah.
Because it hurts, man. It hurts.
Well,
Damn
times
Red
have changed,
Sox.
my man. Times have changed. But to get to my basketball point, now correct me if I'm wrong. You said the Knicks, you want them to lose.
For the rest of the season. For the rest of the season, yes.
Right. But I remember you saying you don't like the whole trust the process thing in
Yes.
Philly, which would
Yes.
require them
Stop
to
right there.
lose.
Stop right there. Stop right there. You ain't ignorant, are you? Wouldn't you
What's
consider
that?
you're not ignorant, are you? You'd consider yourself a relatively smart man, wouldn't you? Wouldn't you
I
say?
guess, yeah.
So you trying to tell me that I haven't made it clear on numerous occasions there's a difference between reaching a point in a season where you decide that you're going to stink up the joint anyway, and that's okay for the rest of the season. But there's a difference between that and announcing to the public that you plan on losing for years at a time. You trying to tell me there's no difference between that, and I didn't articulate that?
No, it's really the same thing. Where you
No,
trust
it's
the
not.
process, you
No,
keep
it's
on-
not. No, it's not. Me announcing to the public that I'm going to lose on purpose for years, and I'm not going to compete for years on purpose for the sole express purpose of being able to get consecutive high draft picks is egregious. It's robbery to a fan base. There's been plenty of teams in NBA history. The Spurs were one of them when they tanked it for Tim Duncan. And Rick Pitino was doing it in Boston when he talked about Bird's not walking through that door and McHale's not walking through that door and all of that other stuff. We saw that before. I never said a word. What I said was the process where you sit around and you lose on purpose for 3 years and willing to go to as far as 5 years. That is unforgivable, which is why the NBA commissioner intervened, which is why Jerry Colangelo ultimately took over basketball operations from Sam Hinkie, which is why the ownership led by Josh Harris was forced to capitulate to those requests because they knew it was anti-American. It was an embarrassment. And anybody that brings up and praises and lauds the process, as far as I'm concerned, is an utter disgrace.
The Knicks been doing for the last 2 or 3 years anyway.
Hold on. The Knicks haven't been losing on purpose. They just stink. That's entirely different. They just stink. Knicks can't get right. That's what you remember that character in the comedy Life with Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy when there was a character named it Can't Get Right was his name. That's the Knicks with Dolan. Can't get right. I'm hopeful that Scott Perry and Steve Mills will steer in the right direction, but the New York Knicks can't get right. You could call them the New York Can't Get Right. That's what you could call them. That's what you could call them. But I gotta go. Appreciate the call. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. More of your phone calls in a minute before my man Mark Teixeira comes on board. You're listening live to Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, if you missed any of my opening segment, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast. Brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One. Hey! What's in your wallet? Back with more of your calls in a minute. It's Stephen A., ESPN Radio, ESPN News.
Craving even more of Stephen A?
Him of all people.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Welcome back to the Stephen A. Smith Show, coming to you live from South Street Seaport District at Pier 17, being brought to you by Chase. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a political show. This is a sports talk show. But I am going to say this about these hearings taking place on Capitol Hill with Michael Cohen testifying essentially against the President of the United States. I heard, and I'm not going to mention any names, I heard one of the stupidest questions I've ever heard posed to somebody. You know what they said, No, Jonathan? They asked Trump's lawyer, who's scheduled to go to jail, are you going to have a book deal or a television deal or anything like that? Will you make a commitment that under no circumstances will you either make a deal, or if you make the deals, then make such a deal that you'll donate your money to charity? So let me get this straight. You're going to jail. You're probably going to go broke because of it. But when you get out of jail and you're free to be a citizen, basically, will you promise you're not going to make any money in a capitalistic country? That's got to be the dumbest question that I've ever heard in my life. I just wanted to put some of this stuff into perspective. Stuff like that is what drives the regular layman American citizen absolutely nuts. I'm not talking politics here. You basically ask somebody a question. Are you going to earn any money when you get out of jail? Why would you not? Whatever it takes to get paid, as long as it's legal. That's just idiotic. Mike, you're live with Stephen A. real quick, man. Only got about 30 seconds. Go ahead, buddy.
Yeah, man, how you doing? I just want to talk about the Lakers real quick, man. They going through so much. Ain't no need them trying to win this year. I mean, don't sit LeBron down. Just give it all you can, and then just go ahead and wait till next year, see if we get Anthony Davis and go on and make a push forward. Then.
Hey, here's my question. Go ahead, man. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was going to ask you. You do live in Denver. What about your Nuggets?
Hey, man, they
balling
better than they playing better than they ever had. And
How about that?
Once Michael Porter come back, they're gonna be.
Oh, please don't give me no Michael Porter. Let's hope his back is okay and he can play. Period. He ain't been around yet. But I got news for you. I love Jamal Murray. I love Nojic, and I love Mike Malone's job. The job that he's doing. He deserves a lot of credit for it. Mark Teixeira.
Coast to coast. The Stephen A. Smith Show starts right now.
Welcome back to Stephen A. Smith Show, hour number 2 of the Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News as well. Stephen A. Smith Show is being brought to you by Indeed, used by over 3 million businesses for hiring. So post a job today at Indeed.com/hire. Plus, ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Drivers who switch to Progressive can save an average of $668. Ladies and gentlemen, my next guest, sitting right next to me, played in Major League Baseball for quite some time, man. I mean, I'm just looking at your bio right now. Yankees 8 years, Texas for 5 years, Atlanta a couple of years. I mean, you got a quite impeccable resume. 409 home runs. I'm talking about baseball analyst extraordinaire for the family. 409 career home runs, the one and only Mark Teixeira. What's going on, man? How are you?
Good to be here, Stephen A.
Good to see you. I couldn't wait to talk to you about the Hicks signing. What were your thoughts about the Yankees locking him in for years to come?
I love it because, Aaron Hicks is definitely a late bloomer. Mm-hmm. But if you look at the value that he's creating, playing a premium position in center field, being a switch hitter, he's a five-tool player. This guy's got one of the best arms in baseball. He can run. He can hit home runs. Gets on base. Mm-hmm. So to get him for 7 years and only 70 only.
That's right.
It's $10 million a year when the going rate for that type of player in the free agent market's probably $20 million.
So how long is it going to be, Mark Teixeira, before this dude feels I got hosed? I know he wants to secure a future for, and he's got a kid, and he wants to secure a future for his family. I get all of that, but damn, couldn't the Yankees have given him a better deal so he doesn't end up feeling bitter?
Every player is different though. This is my thing. He being a late bloomer, he basically got released. I mean, not released. He got traded sold low by the Twins.
Okay.
Right, top prospect. Mm-hmm. He had to resurrect his career. He had to prove himself. He's had 2 good seasons. He's cashing in $70 million after 2 good seasons. Mm-hmm. So if I'm Hicks, I'm looking at that $70 million. If you would ask me 2 years ago, am I in line for a $70 million contract? I'd say, of course not. So there's kind of a give and take where the Yankees are saying, I'm going to believe in you for the future. And he's got to say, you know what? I'm in a great spot for where I started my career.
Mark Teixeira, let's transition to something I haven't had an opportunity to talk to you about. Manny Machado, he gets his $300 million deal. I have a problem overall. I got a huge, huge problem with 10-year deals in Major League Baseball. I have no problem with the money. Get all the money. I'm a capitalist. Get all the money you can get. I got no issues with it. But a 10-year commitment for an organization to say, you're going to be worth this money in 10 years, I got a problem with that. Should I?
I believe there are more bad contracts that are 10 years than good, especially when you talk about a position player where as soon as that bat slows up, you can't catch up to that fastball. These guys are throwing 100 miles an hour now in on your hands. When your bat slows up, it's not going to be a good contract. But I look at it a different way. Look at it as a 7-year contract. The last 3 is the acquisition fee. The last 3 years and $90 million of that contract may not be very good, but it's what it took to get Manny Machado. So if you're the Padres, you have the #1 farm system in baseball. You needed a guy like Manny Machado to solidify that lineup, take a little bit of pressure off these young kids. You kind of need a Machado type, and he was out there. You go get him.
Yeah, but when Machado, think about what we were saying here. We were questioning his willingness, effort-wise, his willingness to run down to first base. We heard him say, I play when I want to play. I give effort when I want to give effort. And I was shocked that wasn't necessarily held against him in the sport of baseball. 162 games, day in and day out, you're playing over the course of 6 months. I mean, you got to want it. You got to care.
You make a great point. It's buyer beware for the Padres. You sign this guy to be your franchise player, face of the franchise, and be an example to young players. You saw what happened last year in October.
That's right.
I'm not saying that's who he is. He's got a chance to flip that script. But if at the end of this year, the Padres are in last place and he's dogging it out there,
that's right,
you better believe the Padres ownership's going to go, what did we do?
And not only that, he's got a 5-year out, but they don't. So he can opt out.
It's a one-way
opt out. And I just tell me, educate me, because I watch the sport. My dad had taught me the sport. One of my best friends in the world, Jeff Brown in California, is a baseball encyclopedia. But I watch, and I'm sitting there going like this. How do you position yourself to just be essentially at the disposal of Manny Machado? I can understand somebody. I can understand if it was Barry Bonds in his heyday. I can understand if it was somebody elite, even if it were A-Rod, for crying out loud.
This is
Manny
why.
Machado?
Did you ever, on this radio show, when was the last time you talked about the Padres on this radio show?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Never.
They are in the conversation.
Only for a couple of weeks, not until the season.
Hey,
once the season starts, probably
baseball
not.
tonight might go out for Sunday Night Baseball.
Really?
For might be. I don't know, but like that's where you get yourself if you're the Padres. you get yourself on the map where ESPN, the worldwide leader, is now talking about the San Diego Padres. That cost $300 million over 10 years.
How did you feel about the Yankees passing up on offering them that money?
I didn't mind it at all. The Yankees, look at their lineup. Their lineup is stacked. They got Miguel Andujar, who was second runner-up in Rookie of the Year.
Right.
This guy's numbers, you take the names away from Andujar and Machado offensively, they're almost equal. Now, Andujar is not as good defensively. I'm going to give that to Manny. Give props where props are due. But Andujar and the Yankees are a good match because he can hit at the back end of that lineup. Not a lot of pressure. He's making the minimum. You don't have to pay him $30 million a year because he's making the minimum, and you can save some of that money. You can bring in a James Paxton type guy. You can sign DJ LeMahieu. You can sign J.A. Happ. It's because of guys like Andujar being cheap.
If Manny Machado is worth this amount of money, what's Bryce Harper worth?
Bryce Harper thinks he's worth more. He probably is worth more.
Okay.
The problem
I believe he's worth more, but go ahead.
The problem is, how many teams out there are willing to give him this deal? And what we're seeing right now is we know the Phillies want him.
For $300 million.
They've been very vocal, but we don't know where any other team is.
I like the Dodgers 4 years, $190 million deal better than I like the $300 million deal from the Phillies, because if you haven't agreed to that by now, that tells me you're not sold on the Phillies. And as a guy that worked in Philadelphia for 17 years, I'm here to tell you, you can't go to Philly unless you want to.
Yep.
If you don't want to be in Philly, they're going to eat you alive the second they get a chance to. If you just go there for the money.
Agree or disagree? I think the craziest, maybe most baseball loving fans are Boston, New York. The toughest fans are Philly. I mean, when the Phillies are good, that stadium is rocking. It's one of the best stadiums to play in. But if you don't play well, especially as a free agent, I mean, you could be a free agent, sign a 1-year, $4 million deal. But if you struggle, the fans will let you know.
Do you believe that Bryce Harper should have ever turned down a 10-year, $300 million offer from the Washington Nationals?
I think he had a chance to be an icon in D.C. That franchise hadn't won a World Series. If they would have won a World Series with Bryce Harper on that team, with what he's meant to that franchise, he would be immortalized. There'd be a statue in front of that stadium for him. But I'm not Bryce Harper. It's tough to play that game because he's from the West Coast, right? He's from Vegas. Maybe his entire free agency goal has been to get back out west. My family's out there. You know what? They can see me play more, whatever it might be. And we know how tight Bryce Harper is with his family. He might just say, hey, Scott Boras, his agent, get me to the West Coast. I don't want to stay out east. I don't want to go play for the Phillies. You know, maybe if the Yankees were calling, I'd listen, but the Yankees aren't calling.
Well, if that's the case, what's the hesitancy with the Dodgers' 4-year, $190 million offer?
Is that what they're offering?
That's what they're offering. That's what we've been told they're offering.
That's a heck of an offer.
4 years, $190 million.
That's incredible. If that is true, I'd sign that in a second if I'm Bryce Harper.
Particularly since it's in L.A.
I mean, you're talking about almost $50 million a year to play baseball.
Right. Now, that's what's been reported. I don't know how definitive that is, but that's what's been said. Let's touch on the Dodgers for a second. How are you feeling about them? Haven't won a World Series since '88. Chances are they'll win the NL West. Chances are they'll have a pretty good shot at getting back to the World Series. But that's not what this town cares about at Chavez Ravine. I mean, they don't give a damn about that anymore. You going to win or not?
Yep.
That's what it is with the Dodgers. How are you feeling about them for this upcoming season?
I feel better about the Dodgers coming into this season than I did last year.
Why?
Because I think if Corey Seager is healthy, right, you have guys like Walker Buehler now stepping up and being an ace. Everything's been, Kershaw will take us to the promised land. Stop putting it on Clayton Kershaw. He has been your horse forever. He's a little banged up in spring training. I think this is a great...
Already? I didn't know that.
He's a little banged up.
A little banged up already?
His shoulders hurt, but...
It's February. How did that happen?
Take some time off.
Oh, Lord.
And be healthy for September, October.
Right.
I think that puts the Dodgers in a better spot because as we sit right now, they are the best team in the they have the best roster in the National League. They have more pitching depth than you can shake a stick at. They signed some kind of savvy here and there guys to make sure that roster has depth. The Rich Hill signing. Rich Hill on any given night is a Cy Young guy.
Yeah.
Like no one was talking about Rich Hill.
Not consistent enough, but I like him.
But those type of guys that they've brought in, Alex Wood, Kenta Maeda, Hyunjin Ryu. These guys, they're not big superstar names, but on any given night, they can be aces, and that's why the Dodgers are in such a great spot.
Let me stay with the Dodgers and Kershaw for this 1 second. In the past, do you know what I complained about with Kershaw? I'm like, I know it's Southern California, it's the LA sunshine. Please don't get me wrong. But there are many, many times I'm saying, why is he pitching into the 8th inning? Why is he pitching in? What do you care about pitch count? Do you care about mileage? Do you not realize that sitting out in the sun throwing those pitches somehow, some way that's going to affect you come October? Am I wrong for thinking like that about the Los Angeles Dodgers? I think they run them into the ground.
Not at all, and teams can't help themselves because you got your horse, your franchise, your icon on the mound, and he says, "I feel fine." You're going to kind of let him go because, he'll probably save the bullpen a little bit and he'll go out there and he'll be your horse and finish the game. The problem is in September and October when you really need him to step up, he's already got 200 innings on his back. He's got a back issue. He's had a very bad back, and so every now and then a shoulder pops up or an elbow flares up. He's getting older. He's been the most dominant pitcher of our generation. His numbers are silly.
Sensational.
But if I'm the Dodgers, I do exactly what you say. And in the 6th inning, when he's got 80 pitches in a game where I'm winning that game 5-1, you're out because I need to save you for October.
Mark Teixeira right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. The Colorado Rockies, Nolan Arenado, richest contract per year in Major League Baseball history, 8 years, $260 million. Is he worth it?
Yes. This guy is worth it for a lot of different reasons. Number one, he is one of the most consistent sluggers in baseball. The last 4 years, he's putting up, video game numbers, 40 home runs, 130 RBIs. Check that box. Check the box of 6 Gold Gloves in a row. There's only one other guy in the history of baseball that have won 6 Gold Gloves their first 6 seasons. Him and Ichiro.
Wow.
Right? Then the third thing is the Colorado Rockies, he is their franchise player. If the Colorado Rockies let him go, the fan base is saying, come on, guys. What? We have a good team. We've been in the playoffs 2 straight years. If you let this guy go, what are we doing
Well, if
here?
that's the case in Colorado, what are they doing in the nation's capital now that Bryce Harper's not going to be there?
I think Bryce Harper is a little bit different
Because he wanted to leave.
There's always been that, he'll just be here for 6 years and then he's going to play for the Yankees or the Dodgers, right? And so the Nationals have almost expected this from day one. The day they drafted him, he was being groomed to be to be a free agent in 6 years. And I think that's a little bit different with Arenado because, yeah, he was a high pick and he was a top prospect, but he wasn't Bryce Harper from the hype. From the, ESPN doesn't cover Nolan Arenado every single day. He's a great player, but he could slide under the radar a little bit, and it's not like his entire career he's been trying to get to free agency.
What do you think about free agency in terms of the Machados, in terms of the Bryce Harper, still unsigned or what have you? The fact that it's gone this long and spring training has arrived and you still got a guy like Bryce Harper waiting for him to sign a contract, is that good for baseball? Do you have any issue with that whatsoever?
It's not. Listen, it's not baseball's fault that Bryce Harper hadn't signed. It's Bryce Harper's fault.
Right.
And I don't want to use the word fault, but he has had huge contracts put in front of him.
Right.
He says they're not good enough. Baseball has stepped up and said, I'm going to give you a $300 million contract. He just hasn't taken it. So on the one hand, you do have some free agents out there that still haven't signed. Dallas Keuchel hasn't signed. Craig Kimbrell, who arguably behind Mariano Rivera is the most dominant closer of all time. If you look at the numbers, Craig Kimbrell's still out there. The reason those guys haven't signed is that they want a contract that's not out there in the market. So that's the one hand. The other hand is, Manny Machado got 10 for 300. Good player, great player, not the best player in baseball, not even probably a top 10 player in baseball. That guy got $300 million. So from that standpoint, the players can't complain and can't say there's collusion because a guy like Manny got paid.
I don't expect a former player such as yourself, Mark Teixeira, to be a proponent of some kind of salary cap issue where guys can't get paid what their market is worth, because I don't believe in that either. Get all the money that you can. But are you a proponent of limiting the amount of years on a contract, meaning like capping it at 6 or a 7-year deal, as opposed to the 8 years by Arenado, as opposed to the 10 years by Manny Machado?
Yeah, I don't think so because I like the free market. I think it should work. And just like I said, there's that acquisition fee. And if you have a player and you look at him and go, he'll probably be really good for 6 years. and you run all the numbers. We got some really smart, Harvard Business School guys running teams now.
Right.
I think he's going to be good for 6 years. Every other team is saying, I'll pay you for 6 years. How are you going to get that guy? Extra years. So whether you give him $40 million more in, that 6-year period, or give him 2 extra years on the back end, it's the same thing. It's the acquisition fee. Exactly.
Got you. Mark Teixeira, Major League Baseball analyst extraordinaire for ESPN, right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News. 20-second pitch clock. How you feel about that?
I like it. And
pitchers don't seem to like it.
No.
I forgot the couple of guys that complained about it. Matt Scherzer, that's it.
Max Scherzer is one of the most dominant pitchers of this generation. Yes, he is. He's special. And there's a reason he doesn't like it, because that's his routine. He doesn't want his routine messed up. And Max Scherzer has earned the right to go out there and say, I don't like this. That being said, this rule is not for today's game and for today's players. It's to protect the game for the next generation. Because guess what? If my kids stop watching baseball because it's too boring and the pace of play is too slow, the next generation of players are not going to get $30 million contracts.
That's true.
If attendance keeps falling, if revenues fall, revenues have been rising even though attendance has been flat or actually declining because we're doing such a better job of promoting through digital and the internet's just exploding and cable TV. But if people stop watching baseball and those revenues go down, the players are going to feel it. So MLB is saying, listen, guys, this is coming. You need to be partners here, and you need to look at pace of play and try to fix some of these issues.
I've been a proponent of this for a long time, because pace of play to me is everything. That's why you lose your younger audience, that younger demographic that's so pivotal to the success of any sports business in this day and age. But I ask you, is that the only thing that you're concerned about, affecting Major League Baseball negatively?
No, I think pace of play is an issue. I think there's no salary floor. So, for example, the Orioles lost 115 games last year. They were kind of a joke. It was terrible to watch. No one showed up to the games. Right. They had a $60 million payroll. The Boston Red Sox, or this year they're going to have a $60 million payroll. The Boston Red Sox this year, $220 million payroll. The difference of $160 million is an entire team. And so until you make teams spend more money.
That's what the NBA does.
There's going to be tanking.
Yeah, that's what the NBA and the NFL does.
And the difference in tanking in the NBA is if you get that top pick and you get Zion or RJ Barrett or one of these top players, you're going to be pretty good right away. That guy can make a big difference on day one. You get the top pick in baseball, or teams that are bad, they actually get more money to spend on all different types of free agents or all different types of amateur players. Those guys are going to take 5 or 6 years to get good anyway. So you have teams that tank and don't necessarily benefit from tanking.
I know you got to get on out of here. Before I let you go, Robinson Cano is no longer a Met, no longer a Yankee, no longer a Seattle Mariner. He's a New York Met now. What do you think he's going to do this year?
I think he's going to
step
up. Your
former teammate.
I think he's going to step up his game in New York because he's back. Seattle's a smaller market, beautiful place to play.
Yes,
but
too much rain.
He's back in a big market. Right. I think he's going to do a really good job for the Mets' bigger ballpark. He's got that gap power. He's going to hit a bunch of doubles. He's going to solidify that lineup. I think the Mets are going to be sneaky good this year.
They better be. If not, you need to trade one of them pitchers, DeGrom, Wheeler. Somebody need to be someplace where they can compete rather than being in the Queens. Couldn't score. It's not their fault. It's not their fault. Appreciate you as always, buddy. Thank you so much. The one and only Mark Teixeira, Major League Baseball analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. Right here with Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, 888-SAY-ESPN. That's 888-729-3776. Back with your calls and more in a minute. Don't touch that dial. It's the Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio, ESPN News. By the way, do you have frequent heartburn? Like the kind where you have antacids stashed everywhere in case it pops up? You know what I mean. You keep some in your bag or your desk or your car or your nightstand. You have those chalky tablets ready for whenever and wherever heartburn strikes. Well, listen up. There's an easier way to deal with your heartburn. That's Prilosec OTC. Just one pill a day will last a full 24 hours with zero heartburn. Kick your antacid habit. It's possible with Prilosec OTC. Use as directed for 14 days to treat frequent heartburn, not for immediate relief. Back to your calls in a minute. Stephen A., don't touch that dial.
Craving even more of Stephen? The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, and you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-FLOWERS Twitter feed.
That's a new beat. I kind of like that. Usually it's something for me to sing to, but that's just something that I can flow with right there. I like that beat. You know what never goes out of style? Surprising a friend or loved one with a buy one, get one free multicolored rose bouquet for $29.99 from 1-800-Flowers.com. To order, go to 1-800-Flowers.com/ESPN. Back to the phones we go. Thanks again to Mark Teixeira, baseball analyst extraordinaire for ESPN. I think he does a wonderful job. I think he's going to be an outstanding baseball analyst for us. I love talking to him. And you know what? Between him, Buster Olney, Tim Kirkchin, I ain't going to miss much when it comes to the sport of Major League Baseball. I'm just not going to miss much with those three. Matter of fact, I'll take it a step further. I ain't going to miss anything. 888-SAY-ESPN. That is the number to call. Let's get back to the phones. Jill, you're live at Stephen A. on ESPN Radio and ESPN News. Hi, Jill. How are you?
Hello, Stephen A. I appreciate your taking my call.
Of
My
course.
family is very sick of my rants and theories about the Celtics' troubles, so I thought I'd run it by you.
Okay, please. I'm listening.
It's said that a college team takes on the personality and temperament of their coach. A team in the association takes on the personality of its biggest star.
Okay.
In the past years, up until last year, the Celtics were Brad Stevens' team, and it was Brad Stevens' personality and his system. And I think he's butting heads with Kyrie's system. Kyrie is moody and sulky, and he's a point guard. He likes the attention. And the other guys, Al Horford, Marcus Smart, Marcus Morris, Baines, they're feeling loyalty toward the coach, toward Brad.
Okay, let me throw this by you, Jill. Let me give you my honest opinion, okay? And it's just an opinion. Can you hear me? Jill, can you hear me?
Can.
Jill, I think Mark Stevens is a wonderful coach. And I like him genuinely as a person. I think that Danny Ainge is an elite, if not the elite executive in the sport today. Here's my issue. I think their personal affection, or at least on the part of Brad Stevens, for Gordon Hayward, along with Danny Ainge's insistence of trying to justify the $131 million deal he gave Gordon Hayward last year before he had that nasty injury in Game 1 against the Cavaliers, has served a pivotal role in derailing the Boston Celtics. Gordon Hayward is worth every penny when healthy. Gordon Hayward is a good guy. He can ball. No problem with the signing. But because of the nastiness of the injury, he had no business coming back for Game 1 of this season, particularly being reinserted into the starting lineup. When you consider what Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and those boys did last year. Now, one could try to make the same argument against Kyrie Irving, but Terry Rozier, starting in place of Kyrie Irving, who got injured in the latter part of last season before the playoffs began, Kyrie Irving still played over 50 games for the Boston Celtics. He played with those guys. Plus, he's a superstar point guard. And so Kyrie replacing Terry Rozier, to me, is not what compromised this team. Kyrie's personality is not what compromised this team. I think Gordon Hayward, an unready Gordon Hayward, who was slower and less athletic than he's used to being put on the court with those thoroughbreds, ultimately is what compromised them, because it appeared to be more of a priority for Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge to get him reinserted into things rather than to let the team flow off of what we saw last year in the playoffs. To that you say what, Jill?
Yes, I agree. I think there are times even off the bench now that Gordon's inserted into like high intensity plays, and I think to myself, the golden child. Like
That's right.
Brad, it is where he's impartial to him. That kid grew up with Brad Stevens in college.
It's perfectly understandable. It's perfectly understandable. It's not like Brad Stevens committed a crime. I mean, my goodness, you can almost applaud that loyalty. My problem with it, Jill, couldn't you have waited till next season? Why not let him come back midway through this season? Why not bring him slowly and gradually back? The team would have welcomed him. He'd have came off the bench. They'd have been excited for him. You can re-ingratiate stuff for them. The level of patience would have been a bit more reasonable. The problem is Kyrie Irving's approaching free agency, playing for his money. Terry Rozier's looking for a new contract after Marcus Smart just finished getting a new contract. When you have those issues, you don't make a move like this to take care of your guy in Gordon Hayward. I think when all is said and done, that is what's costing the Boston Celtics. Okay, Jill, I got to run. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Let's go to Brian. You're live with Stephen A. Talk to me, Brian.
Hey, Stephen A. How you doing?
I'm all right.
Taking my call.
What's up?
I got kind of two questions. Do you think the Cincinnati Reds are going to not really win really good this year, but do you think they'll at least get out of the cellar at all?
I know this much.
And
there's no way in hell I think that they're going to win the World Series like Yasiel Puig stated. I mean, you couldn't do it with the Dodgers. Why the hell you swearing the Reds are going to do it? That's just ignorant on his part. Do I think they'll get out of the cellar? It remains to be seen. You know, I really haven't followed much about the Cincinnati Reds, and I'm going to wait until the season starts and I get to watch some of these teams more intensely in April before I cast any kind of judgment whatsoever. Right now, the only team I'm focused on are my Yankees and the Dodgers. That's really, really it. I like Colorado. I like the fact that Arenado, he got his money. I think he deserved it. I do like that. I agree with Mark Teixeira in that regard. I pay attention to the Boston Red Sox because they are no joke. The Cleveland Indians, of course, I'm going to pay attention to the Angels because of Mike Trout, okay? I'm going to pay attention to stuff like that. And we're going to see. And, of course, Houston is no joke with Verlander and the crew and that staff, along with Altuve and Springer and those boys. They're no joke. So I pay attention to those guys. The cellar dwellers of the world, I'm not going to lie to you. I don't pay too much attention to them. But I will watch come season time and see what Cincinnati's got.
All right. Well, my second question is, I've been a Cincinnati Bengals fan my whole life. I'm 36 years old.
Oh, God. My condolences.
And I agree with what you've always said about them as far as getting rid of Marvin Lewis. It should have been done 3 years ago, as far as I'm concerned, if not longer.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's done. I know the coach himself really isn't proven as a head coach.
Okay.
I'm very excited that they've got all the coaching changes.
First of all, you should just be excited that somebody new. Well, let's call it what it is. The man, Marvin Lewis, coached you for 16 years, never won a playoff game. Anybody will do. I hate to say it like that. And I'm not saying that Marvin Lewis doesn't deserve to be a head coach in the NFL. I'm saying it long ago it was time for him to get the hell out of Cincinnati. About damn time they made that decision. Go ahead.
How do you think they're going to do this year? I know it's like
I don't know. I don't know.
Answer.
I don't know because I don't know anything about what this coach is capable of. I know that year after year after year, the Cincinnati Bengals have had enough talent to be a playoff team, which is why they went for 5 straight years. I think the Cincinnati Bengals, talent-wise, could compete with anybody. My problem with them has been their discipline, their focus, and the fact that there has been this tacit approval of their mediocrity, if not flagrant approval of their mediocrity. If the ownership, with the decisions that they make on down, shows that they're perfectly content being mediocre and coming up short and not appeasing their fans in any way, not even giving the impression they're trying to win, where would you get any kind of urgency from the players? Where would that come from? That's the problem with Cincinnati, with the Cincinnati Bengals. So the fact that you finally got a new coach up in there is a good thing. It's an absolute good thing because it shows you're at least willing to try to win instead of accepting the status quo.
Exactly.
All right? Got to run. I appreciate the call. Robert, talk to me. You're live with Stephen A.
Hey, Stephen A. I agree with you about Gordon and Boston, about the Boston Celtics. But I want to take it a step further. If you look at the Celtics, Brad Stevens' system is everybody gets the ball equally, everybody gets to shoot, and it's hurting Tatum and it's hurting Brown. If you look at the box scores, Marcus Smart, Tice, all these guys are getting an equal number of shots as Tatum and Brown. If you look at Golden State, you don't see Iguodala and Livingston getting the ball more than Clay, more than Curry. It's never going to work. The Celtics system, Brad Stevens' system of everybody sharing equally is horrible for the pros. It's great for Butler, but it's not going to work with the Celtics.
Listen, here's the reality of the situation. They're 37-24 right now. Now, let's look at the number of shots to make sure your point is accurate. Kyrie Irving averages 18 shots a game. The next person is Jason Tatum at 13. So your point is not accurate. Al Horford's at 10. Marcus Morris is at 11. And Jaylen Brown is at 10. So you have 5 different guys averaging over 10 shots a game. But Kyrie clearly shoots more than everybody else, and nobody else is getting 13 shots. So I do understand your point. It hasn't completely escaped me. Because if I'm going to read what you're saying right, Robert, what you're saying is maybe a Marcus Morris shouldn't be shooting nearly as many shots as Tatum. He certainly shouldn't be shooting more than Al Horford. Maybe that's what you're saying. And if that's what you're saying, I can understand and respect where you're coming from. But everybody's not shooting the same number of shots because nobody shoots as much as Kyrie.
Right. Well, Kyrie gets his shots, but if you look at when it's successful, see, if you're just saying average, if you're just looking at the stats, because I watch every Celtics game, and when you look at the stats don't really show the losses. So in the victories, yeah, Tatum is getting his shots. Yeah, Brown is coming off the bench. He's getting a decent number of shots.
But what I'm saying to you is this. Let me say this to you. You're talking about accuracy. You're talking about marksmanship. Kyrie Irving's shooting 49.3% from the field. Al Horford's shooting 52% from the field. If anything, he should be shooting more. Marcus Morris is shooting 47% from the field. The people that are struggling are Haywood and Smart and to a lesser degree Jaylen Brown. But I do understand your point about in the losses, there seems to be a discrepancy. I understand that. They're just not on the same page right now. Sometimes the Celtics haven't looked like they've come to play at all. I mean, they got blitzed last night. That was an embarrassing display. But I got news for you. Last night, Kyrie Irving only took 10 shots. Marcus Morris took 14 shots. Tatum and Horford each shot 10 shots along with Kyrie Irving. So I do understand your point. And maybe those guys should be shooting more. We've got to wonder why. We really, really do. Appreciate the call. John, you're live with Stephen A. What's up?
Stephen A., what's up, brother?
Talk to me.
So I want to know your take on the New York Knicks offseason coming up. I want to know how do you think they should go about it? I know the possibility of Kevin Durant possibly coming, possibly Kyrie Irving. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Kyrie Irving. He's a great player, don't get me wrong. He's a bad man. I'm not even going to lie. But I just don't think they should go that route with
well, let me ask you a question. If they shouldn't go after Kyrie, who should they go after?
Oh, man. I would say KD and Kawhi Leonard, if you could pair that up.
Well, first of all, I think Kawhi Leonard would go to the Brooklyn Nets or the Los Angeles Clippers before he ever came to the Knicks. That's number one. Do the Knicks think they have a shot at Kevin Durant? Of course they do. But guess what? So does Brooklyn. Kyrie Irving, here's the beauty of the Porzingis trade. You weren't going anywhere with him anyway. Plus, he was going to sabotage, maybe not intentionally, maybe it was, but he was going to sabotage your ability to attract other free agents. So here's what makes it very, very interesting in my eyes. Porzingis' departure led to you creating an additional $40+ million in cap space. That gives you enough money because you already had $38 million available. It is now giving you enough money to go after two max players. The New York Knicks can have anywhere from $73 to $76 million available in cap space. And I think that elevates the chances of you getting stars to come to New York because you're saying to them, you can bring whoever you want with you. And that, I think, is really, really going to bode well for the New York Knicks. I will tell you this. If the New York Knicks, for example, first of all, I think you got to go all out for Kevin Durant. That has to be your number one target. It has to be your number one target. I will concede that. I don't think Kawhi Leonard will ever think about coming to New York for Madison Square Garden because I don't think he wants to be in that media bubble. Kyrie would love it. And if you had to overpay to get Kyrie, damn it, take the risk. I'll admit it, but I got to tell you something. Let's say, for example, you ready for this, Nuno? Let's say, for example, the New York Knicks knew they could get Kevin Durant. If I can't get Kyrie Irving, I would be completely satisfied with Kemba Walker. I'd be completely satisfied with Kemba. Let me ask y'all a question. Who's the closest thing to Kyrie Irving in the NBA? It would be Kemba Walker. You talk about a brother that can dance on you, that's got a perimeter shot, that's cold-blooded, that can finish you off, that's special, got a nasty handle, quickness. He's the number one option in Charlotte. He ain't even 6 feet tall, and he can average 25 a night. Kemba Walker's a bad brother. And I don't want my brother Michael Jordan to lose him. But Kemba Walker is a bad somebody. If I'm the New York Knicks, and the New York Knicks say, you know what? we're going to pass on Kyrie. And instead, we'll go to Ryder Kemba Walker. I'm not mad at him. Now, Kyrie Irving is a showstopper. Kyrie Irving is box office. But Kemba Walker's pretty damn close. If y'all don't know, you better ask somebody. Better start paying attention. You better look at this guy, Kemba Walker, because he has it. Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute. It's Stephen A. ESPN Radio, ESPN News, by the way. If you missed the show today, go check it out on demand in the Stephen A. Smith podcast. Brought to you by Capital One. Capital One is reimagining banking, offering accounts with no fees or minimums that can be opened in 5 minutes. Capital One, hey, what's in your wallet? Back with your calls to close out the show in a minute.
Geico, 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Stephen A. Smith Show on ESPN Radio is presented by Progressive Insurance. Guests on the Stephen A. Smith Show appear via the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And you can always get in touch with the show through the 1-800-Flowers Twitter feed.
Need seats to a game? Download the Vivid Seats app and enter promo code CHAMPS at checkout to get 10% off your first order. Don't buy just any seat. Get a Vivid seat. Stephen A. Smith Show, ESPN Radio. I'm looking at the Lakers schedule, man. I might have to be out there next week. They play the Clippers on Monday. There's an ESPN game against the Nuggets on Wednesday, and then they play the Boston Celtics that Saturday. I might have to see that. I really, really might have to see that. 888-SAY-ESPN. It's 888-729-3776. Stephen A. Smith Show right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN News. Kenny, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick, Kenny. What's up?
What's going on, Stephen A.?
Talk to me. What's up?
Hey, I want to start off by saying hard work beat talent when talent don't work hard. That being said, who would have ever thought the Milwaukee Bucks would be 46-14 right now? And do you think they can keep it up?
Well, first of all, I think Budenholzer is one of the top 3 candidates for Coach of the Year, along with Nate McMillan in Indiana and Mike Malone in Denver. That's number 1. Number 2, the Greek Freak's the real deal. Let's see what happens in the postseason against Toronto, Boston, Philadelphia. I think they got a chance to keep it up, though. I think Milwaukee could end up in the conference finals, but we shall see. Travis, you're live with Stephen A. Real quick. You only got 30 seconds.
Much love, brother. I just got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
Do you see any chance of Anthony Davis and Kyrie both going to Los Angeles? And if so, who does that hurt more's reputation, Kyrie or LeBron's?
I don't know and don't care about the reputation aspect. If Kyrie Irving, I can't imagine he'd want to go to L.A. because that's the situation that he left in Cleveland, unless there's a change and, him and LeBron has restored whatever affection they once had for one another. They're certainly on talking terms. They get along, but I don't know if Kyrie wants to go back and play with him. But certainly you could use the free agent money to acquire Kyrie Irving, and you can use the trades to acquire Anthony Davis, assuming the Pelicans want to do business with you. And I'm not sure about that. By the way, Anthony Davis is only going to play about 20